Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Horizon, watching the stars through the big window. His ship had been traveling through space for 6 months now. They were far from Earth, farther than any human had ever gone before. The ship carried 200 people, all hoping to find new worlds and maybe even other life forms. "Captain, I'm getting something strange on the sensors," said Lisa Carter, the chief science officer. She was looking at her computer screen with worried eyes. "There's a big energy reading coming from the next star system. It's not like anything we've seen before." Jake walked over to look at her screen. The numbers were jumping around like crazy. "How big are we talking about, Lisa?" "Really big, sir. Whatever it is, it's at least 10 times bigger than our ship. And it's moving toward us." Jake felt his heart beat faster. This could be the moment they had all been waiting for. First contact with alien life. But something about Lisa's worried face made him nervous too. "Danny, get down to the engine room." Jake called to his chief engineer, Danny Rodriguez. "I want all systems ready. Something tells me we might need to move fast." Danny nodded and ran toward the elevator. He had been working on spaceships for 20 years, and he knew when the captain was worried about something. On the other side of the galaxy, High Commander Vexthal sat in his command chair aboard the massive Zephyrian warship. The ship was black as night and covered in weapons. Vexthal was tall and thin, with gray skin and forearms. His people had been conquering other worlds for hundreds of years. "Commander, we have found another primitive ship," said his second. "Officer, it appears to be from the species called humans. They are very weak and stupid, according to our files." Vexthal laughed, a sound like metal scraping against metal. "Humans? They barely know how to fly between their own planets. This will be easy. Prepare the electromagnetic pulse weapon. We will disable their ship and take them prisoner." The Zephyrian ship was huge, almost like a small city floating in space. It had conquered dozens of worlds and captured thousands of alien species. The Zephyrians believed they were the smartest and strongest beings in the universe. Back on the horizon, alarms started going off. The big alien ship had appeared on their screens, and it was pointing weapons at them. "Captain, they're charging some kind of weapon," shouted Maria Santos, the security chief. She was a tough woman who had served in the Earth military before joining the space program. "Try to talk to them," Jake ordered. "Open all communication channels." Lisa pressed buttons on her control panel. "This is the Earthship Horizon. We come in peace. Please respond." But the aliens didn't want to talk. A bright blue light shot out from their ship and hit the horizon. All the lights went out. The engines stopped working. Even the air recycling systems shut down. "They hit us with some kind of electromagnetic pulse." Danny's voice came over the emergency radio. "It knocked out our main power systems. I'm trying to get backup power online." Jake couldn't believe what he was hearing. Most ships would be completely helpless after an attack like that. But Danny was already working on fixing things. That was what humans did best. They never gave up. "Maria, get your security teams ready." Jake said, "They're probably going to try to board us." Maria nodded and started talking into her radio. "All security teams, this is not a drill. We have hostile aliens approaching. Get your weapons and take defensive positions." The Zephyrians are watching all of this through their cameras. They expected the humans to panic and beg for mercy. That's what every other species did when they lost power to their ships. "Why are they not surrendering?" asked the Zephyrian second officer. Vexthal frowned. "They are probably too stupid to understand what happened. Send boarding parties. We will take them prisoner and sell them as slaves." Large alien ships flew out of the main vessel toward the horizon. Each one carried 20 Zephyrian soldiers with advanced weapons and armor dot inside the horizon. Danny was working like crazy in the engine room. The electromagnetic pulse had damaged the main power systems, but humans always built backup systems. And backups for the backups. Danny started connecting wires and rerouting power through systems that most aliens didn't even know existed. Got it. Danny shouted as the emergency lights came back on. We have partial power restored. The Zephyrians were surprised. According to their computers, the human ship should have been completely dead. How are they getting power back so fast? Maria had organized her security teams throughout the ship. They didn't have fancy alien weapons, but they had something else. They knew how to work together. Every security officer knew exactly what to do and where to go. They're cutting through the hull on Deck 5, reported one of her officers. Let them come, Maria said with a smile. We'll be ready. The Zephyrian. Soldiers cut through the metal wall and jumped inside the ship. They expected to find scared humans hiding in corners. Instead, they found empty hallways. Then the lights went out. The humans knew their own ship better than anyone else. They moved through the dark hallways like they could see in the dark. The Zephyrians had night vision equipment, but they didn't know where they were going. Contact, contact, shouted a Zephyrian soldier as something hit him from behind. He fell to the ground, stunned. The humans were using hit-and-run tactics. They would attack quickly and then disappear into the ship's maintenance tunnels. The Zephyrians had never seen anything like it. More alien soldiers boarded the ship, but the same thing happened. The humans seemed to be everywhere and nowhere at the same time. They used the ship's own systems against the aliens, turning off lights and locking doors at just the right moments. This is impossible, Vextel said, watching the battle through his cameras. They should be surrendering by now. But the humans didn't surrender. Even when more Zephyrian soldiers arrived, the humans kept fighting. They used tools as weapons and turned maintenance areas into fortresses. Finally, after 2 hours of fighting, the Zephyrians managed to capture most of the crew. But they had lost many soldiers, and they were very confused. These humans didn't act like any other species they had conquered. Jake Morrison was brought before Vexthul in chains. The alien commander looked at him with all 4 eyes. You will. Tell your people to surrender completely. Vexthul demanded. Jake looked right back at him. My people don't surrender. We adapt. Vexthul didn't understand what that meant, but he was about to find out. The transport ship was cold and dark. 150 humans sat in metal cages, their hands tied behind their backs. They had been traveling for 3 days, and nobody knew where they were going. Stay calm, everyone, Captain Jake Morrison called out from his cage. We're still alive, and as long as we're alive, we have hope. Dr. Amy Foster, the ship's doctor, was trying to help people who had been hurt during the fight. Even with her hands tied, she was giving medical advice to anyone who would listen. Keep pressure on that cut, Kevin, she told Kevin Walsh, a former Marine who had been shot in the arm. Don't let it get infected. Kevin nodded. He had been in the military for 10 years before joining the space program. He knew how to handle pain and how to keep fighting even when things looked bad. The transport ship finally stopped. The aliens opened the cages and pushed the humans out onto a metal platform. What they saw made many of them gasp. They were on a planet that looked like a nightmare. The sky was red, and there were 2 suns that made everything too hot during the day. Strange plants grew everywhere, and they could hear dangerous animals making scary sounds in the distance. Welcome to Kepler 442b, said Prison Warden Kethmer, a tall alien with purple skin and 6 arms. This is where all the difficult prisoners come to die. Most species last about 3 days here before they beg us to take them away. The warden pointed to a large fence made of energy fields. Inside that fence is your new home. The air is partly poisonous. The water will make you sick. The plants will try to kill you. And the animals think you look tasty." He laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "But don't worry. It will all be over soon." The humans were pushed through the energy fence into the prison area. It was about 10 square miles of the worst land they had ever seen. There were no buildings, no clean water, and no food. Most of the humans stood there looking around, trying to understand what had happened to them. But not all of them. Carlos Mendez, who had been a maintenance worker on the ship, was already walking around and looking at things. He picked up some rocks and sniffed the air. "The air isn't that bad," he said. "It's about 20% poison, but we can handle that if we don't work too hard." Dr. Amy Foster was looking at the plants. "Some of these might be edible," she said. "I need to test them carefully, but I think we can find food here." Kevin Walsh was studying the area like a soldier. "We need shelter first," he said. "Those suns are going to cook us during the day, and it's going to be freezing at night." The other humans started listening to them. These 3 people weren't panicking. They were already making plans. "Everyone gather around," Captain Morrison called. "Out. We're going to survive this. But we need to work together." Helen Brooks, who had been a teacher before joining the space program, raised her hand. "I can help organize everyone. We need to figure out what skills we have and how to use them." The warden was watching all of this through cameras. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. Usually new prisoners would be crying and screaming by now. These humans were having a meeting. "Give them 1 day," the warden told his guards. "They'll be begging for mercy by tomorrow morning." But the humans didn't beg. They got to work. Carlos found a small stream with water that was dirty, but not completely poisonous. He started building a filter using his shirt and some rocks. "If we let the water sit for a while and filter it through cloth, we can drink it," he explained. Dr. Amy Foster was testing plants by touching them to her skin and watching for reactions. "This one makes my skin tingle, so it's probably poisonous," she said, throwing a purple plant away. "But this green one doesn't seem to hurt me." Kevin Walsh was teaching people how to build shelters using rocks and dead plants. "We need to get off the ground," he said. "The ground gets too hot during the day and too cold at night." Pete Johnson, who had been the ship's navigator, was mapping the area. He walked around with a stick, drawing a map in the dirt. "The dangerous animals seem to stay near those big rocks during the day," he said. "We should avoid that area." Grace Turner, who had been in charge of communications, was doing something that surprised everyone. She was singing songs and telling stories to keep people's spirits up. "If we don't stay positive, we'll give up," she said. And humans don't give up. The first night was terrible. A temperature dropped so low that everyone was shivering. The sounds of dangerous animals were everywhere. But the humans helped. Each other stay warm and took turns staying awake to watch for danger. When the suns came up, the warden expected to find dead bodies. Instead, he found humans who had survived the night and were already making improvements to their camp. "Impossible," he said. "No species has ever survived the first night on this planet." But the humans kept getting better at surviving. Within a week, they had built a small village. Carlos had created a water purification system using metal pieces. They found scattered around the prison. Dr. Amy Foster had found several plants that were safe to eat and even tasted pretty good. Kevin Walsh had organized the humans into groups. Some people were builders, some were food gatherers, and some were guards who watched for dangerous animals. Helen Brooks had started a school where people shared knowledge. Everyone taught something they knew how to do. A former farmer named Betty Davis showed people how to grow food in the poor soil. Warden watched all of this with growing alarm. "They're not just surviving," he reported to his commanders. "They're building a civilization." The most disturbing thing for the aliens was how the humans helped each other. In Zephyrian society, only the strongest survived. The weak were left to die. But these humans shared food with the sick people. They helped the injured people. They even risked their lives to save strangers. Why do they do this? Asked one of the guards. The warden didn't know. In his experience, prisoners fought each other for every scrap of food. But these humans worked together to make sure everyone had enough. After a month, something amazing happened. The humans weren't just surviving anymore. They were thriving. Sam Taylor, who had been an engineer, had built a power generator using scraps of metal and some crystals they found in the ground. Now they had electric lights in their village. Tony Clark, a mechanic, had figured out how to fix some of the alien equipment that had been thrown away in the prison. He was taking apart cameras and communication devices to see how they worked. The aliens were starting to get worried. They had never seen anything like this before. Should we separate them? Asked one of the guards. The warden thought about it. Yes, if we split them up, they won't be able to work together anymore. But the warden didn't understand humans very well. He was about to make a big mistake. The humans had been planning for this possibility. They had already created secret ways to communicate with each other. They had hidden supplies all around the prison area. And they had been studying their alien captors very carefully. They're going to try to separate us, Captain Morrison told his people. But we're ready for that. Dr. Lavra Adams, who studied human behavior, had been watching the alien guards. They're predictable, she said. They follow the same patterns every day, and they don't understand how we think. The humans were learning that their greatest strength wasn't their technology or their weapons. It was their ability to adapt and work together. The aliens had better tools, but the humans had better teamwork. And teamwork was about to become very important, because the humans weren't planning to stay prisoners much longer. 3 months had passed since the humans arrived at the prison planet. The alien guards couldn't believe what they were seeing. The humans had built a real town inside the prison walls. This is not possible, Warden Kethmer said, looking at the security cameras. They should all be dead by now. The human settlement had grown every day. They had houses made of stone and metal. They had farms where they grew food. They even had a workshop where they fixed broken things and made new tools. Sam Taylor, the engineer, had done something that shocked the aliens. He had built a machine that cleaned all the poison out of the water. Now the humans had more clean water than they could drink. How did they do this? Asked one of the alien guards. The warden looked at the machine through his camera. They used pieces from our old surveillance equipment, but that's impossible. Those pieces shouldn't work together. But Sam Taylor knew something the aliens didn't. No. Human engineers were taught to make things work, even when they weren't supposed to. He had taken apart dozens of alien devices and figured out how they worked. The secret is in the power crystals, Sam explained to Tony Clark, the mechanic. The aliens use them in everything. If we can control the crystals, we can control their technology. Tony nodded. He had been working on something secret for weeks. I think I know how to do it, he said, but I need more time. The aliens decided to separate the humans into smaller groups. They thought this would make them weaker and easier to control. But they were wrong. Captain Morrison had been expecting this. Remember the plan, he told his people. Even if they split us up, we stay connected. The humans had created a secret communication system. They used signals with mirrors during the day and flashing lights at night. They had also hidden supplies in secret places all around the prison. When the aliens separated them, each group had everything they needed to survive, and they could still talk to each other. This is getting worse, the warden reported to his commanders. Separating them didn't work. Now we have 5 human settlements instead of 1. Frank White, who knew about rocks and minerals, had made an amazing discovery. The prison planet had valuable crystals underground. The humans started mining them. These crystals are worth a lot of money, Frank told the others. The aliens probably don't even know they're here. Betty Davis, the former farmer, had created something the aliens thought was impossible. She had built underground gardens that grew food all year round. The humans were eating better than some of the alien guards. Dr. Amy Foster had done something even more amazing. She had created medicines using plants from the planet. Some of her medicines worked better than the alien drugs. The humans are becoming too strong, one of the guards warned the warden. Maybe we should get rid of them. The warden thought about it. No, our commanders want to study them. They want to know how humans can survive in places where other species die. But the humans weren't just surviving anymore. They were planning something big. Dr. Lavra Adams had been studying the aliens for months. She was an expert on how different species behaved. I figured out their weakness, she told Captain Morrison during one of their secret meetings. What is it? Jake asked. They can't handle chaos, Lavra explained. Their whole society is based on order and control. When things become unpredictable, they panic. This gave the humans an idea. They started doing small things that confused the aliens. They would move their buildings to different places overnight. They would change their daily routines randomly. They would sing songs that made no sense. The alien guards started getting nervous. They liked it when prisoners did the same things every day. But these humans were always changing. Why did they move their farm to the other side of the prison? Asked one guard. I don't know, said another. Yesterday they were making music, and today they're digging holes for no reason. The aliens didn't understand that this was all part of a plan. The humans were getting the guards used to strange behavior. Soon, the aliens would ignore anything weird the humans did. Tony Clark had finished his secret project. He had built a device that could control the aliens' surveillance cameras. I can make any camera show whatever I want, he told the other humans. Rachel Kim, who knew about electrical systems, had been working with Tony. We can also control the energy fences, she said. I figured out how to turn them on and off. The humans were ready to make their move. But first, they needed to know more about the prison's defenses. Gary Stone had been a military tactics expert before joining the space program. He had been studying the alien guards for months. They have 40 guards total, he reported. They change shifts every 12 hours. Their weapons are powerful, but they don't know how to fight against guerrilla tactics. The humans started phase 1 of their plan. They began stealing small things from the aliens. Tools, food, pieces of equipment. Nothing big enough to be noticed, but enough to start building what they needed. Patricia Long, who had been a chemist, was making something special with the stolen supplies. I can make explosives using their cleaning chemicals, she said. Not big ones, but enough to create distractions. The aliens still didn't understand what was happening. They thought the humans were just causing small problems. Maybe we should punish them, suggested one guard. For what? Asked the warden. Singing. Too loud? Moving their furniture? These aren't real crimes. But the humans were doing much more than the aliens realized. They were preparing for something that had never happened before in the history of the prison planet. Kevin Walsh had been training groups of humans in combat tactics. We're not trying to kill anyone, he explained. We just need to confuse them and take control of their equipment. The humans had advantages the aliens didn't expect. They knew how to work in the dark because they had been doing it for months. They knew every inch of the prison because they had explored it completely. And they knew how to work together as a team. The aliens fight like individuals, Kevin observed. Each guard thinks about protecting himself. But we fight like a pack. We protect each other. The breakthrough came when Tony Clark successfully hacked into the alien computer system. "I'm in," he announced during a secret meeting. "I can see their guard schedules, their weapon locations, and their communication systems." Captain Morrison smiled. "Then it's time to show them what humans can really do." The aliens had made a mistake. They thought the humans were just good at surviving. They didn't realize that humans were also very good at fighting back. Warden Kethmer was about to learn something important about human nature. When humans are pushed too far, they don't just adapt, they fight back. And when humans fight together, they are very dangerous. The prison planet was about to see something that had never happened before. The prisoners were going to become the guards, and the guards were going to become the prisoners. But the humans weren't planning to hurt anyone if they didn't have to. They had a different plan. They were going to do something that would shock the entire Zephyrian Empire. They were going to prove that humans couldn't be broken, couldn't be controlled, and couldn't be defeated. No matter how hopeless things seemed, humans would find a way to win. The aliens were about to learn why humans had become the dominant species on Earth. It wasn't because they were the strongest or the smartest. It was because they never gave up, and they always worked together. Tomorrow, the real battle would begin. The attack began at midnight, when most of the alien guards were sleeping. But it didn't start with explosions or fighting. It started with something the aliens had never seen before. All around the prison, humans began doing strange things at the same time. Some were dancing. Others were singing loudly. A few were banging on pots and pans. In one area, they were having a pretend wedding ceremony. "What are they doing?" asked the night guard, watching the security cameras. "I don't know," said his partner. "Maybe they've gone crazy." The aliens didn't understand that this was psychological warfare. Dr. Lara Adams had taught the humans how to confuse their enemies by acting unpredictable. While the guards were distracted by the noise and strange behavior, Tony Clark was working on his real mission. He had snuck into the prison's main control room using ventilation shafts that were too small for the tall aliens. "I'm in position," he whispered into his hidden radio. "Ready to cut the power." Captain Morrison was hiding near the main gate with a team of 20 humans. "Do it," he said. Tony activated the device he had built. Every light in the prison went out. All the security cameras stopped working. Even the energy fences that kept the humans trapped shut down. The aliens were completely blind and confused. They had never planned for a total system failure. "Emergency protocols," shouted Warden Kethmer. "Turn on the backup power." But the humans had planned for this too. Rachel Kim had cut the backup power cables hours earlier. The aliens were trapped in their own prison, unable to see or communicate with each other. "Phase 2, Captain Morrison said into his radio. What happened next was like a carefully planned dance, but one that the aliens couldn't see. The humans moved through the dark prison like they owned it. They had been practicing these movements for weeks. Kevin Walsh led one group to the weapons storage area. Gary Stone took another group to capture the communication center. Maria Santos and her team went after the guard quarters. The aliens had superior weapons and armor, but they had never fought an enemy that knew their own territory so well. The humans used every advantage they had. "Contact. We have prisoners escaping in Sector 7, shouted one alien guard. But that was exactly what the humans wanted. While the aliens rushed to Sector 7, the real action was happening in Sector 3, where Patricia Long was setting off small explosions to create even more confusion. The aliens were trained to fight enemies who attacked directly, but the humans were everywhere and nowhere at the same time. They would attack one place, then disappear and attack somewhere else. "This is impossible," said one alien guard. "How many prisoners are there?" "There should only be 150, replied another. "But it feels like there are thousands." The humans were using every trick they had learned. They made noise in one area to draw guards away from another area. They used mirrors to reflect emergency lights and create false signals. They even imitated alien voices to give fake orders over the radio. Roy Mitchell, who was an electronics expert, had taken control of the prison's communication system. He was sending false messages to the guards, telling them to go to the wrong places. All guards report to the North Gate, he said in a perfect imitation of the warden's voice. The prisoners are escaping through the North Gate. While the guards ran to the North Gate, the humans were actually taking control of the South Gate. The aliens' biggest mistake was thinking that humans would try to escape from the planet. Instead, the humans were taking over the prison itself. "Don't want to run away," Captain Morrison had explained to his people. "We want to make this place ours." The battle was not going the way the aliens expected. Usually, when prisoners tried to escape, they ran around in panic and got caught quickly. But these humans were organized and calm. "Fall back to the command center," ordered Warden Kethmer. "We'll make our stand there." But the humans had already thought of that. Danny Rodriguez, the engineer, had been working on the prison's life support systems. He could control the air, the water, and the temperature in any part of the prison. "Command center is getting really hot," Danny reported, "and I've turned off their air conditioning." The aliens in the command center started sweating and breathing hard. They had never experienced fighting in uncomfortable conditions. But the humans had been living in uncomfortable conditions for months. The humans' secret weapon was something the aliens had never seen before. When human soldiers were captured, they didn't fight each other for food or try to escape alone. They worked together to help everyone escape. "Watch out," shouted Kevin Walsh, pushing another human out of the way of alien gunfire. He got hurt. Protecting someone else, Dr. Amy Foster immediately ran to help Kevin, even though she was in danger herself. "I've got you," she said, dragging him to safety. This confused the aliens even more. In their society, wounded warriors were left behind. But these humans risked their lives to save each other. The turning point came when the humans captured High Commander Vexthil himself. He had come to the prison to see what was happening, and he walked right into a trap. Gary Stone and his team surrounded the alien commander in the prison's main courtyard. Vexthil was wearing armor and carrying weapons, but he was outnumbered 20-1. "Surrender," Gary said, pointing an alien weapon at the commander. Vexthil laughed. "You are just weak humans. You cannot defeat me." But he was wrong. The humans didn't defeat him with strength. They defeated him with intelligence. Patricia Long had placed small explosive charges all around the courtyard. She could blow them up anytime she wanted. "Move and we'll bring this whole place down," she said. Vexthil realized he had walked into a trap. But what happened next shocked him even more. The High Commander had been injured during the fighting. He was bleeding from a cut on his arm. Instead of letting him suffer, Dr. Amy Foster came forward with medical supplies. "Let me help you," she said. "Why?" Vexthil asked. "I am your enemy, because that's what humans do," Amy replied. "We help people who are hurt, even if they're our enemies." This made no sense to the alien commander. In his culture, enemies were killed or left to die. But this human was offering to heal him. Amy treated his wound and gave him medicine for the pain. Vexthil couldn't understand it. These humans had just defeated his forces, but they were showing him kindness. "You have won," Vexthil said to Captain Morrison. "What do you want?" Jake Morrison looked at the alien commander. "We want to go home, and we want you to promise that you'll never bother humans again. That's all?" Vexthil asked. "That's all," Jake replied, but Vexthil knew that wasn't really all. These humans had done something impossible. They had turned a death trap into a home. They had defeated a superior enemy using teamwork and intelligence. and they had shown mercy to their enemies. The alien commander was beginning to understand that humans were not like any other species in the galaxy. They were dangerous in ways that had nothing to do with weapons or technology. They were dangerous because they never gave up. They always worked together, and they could turn any situation to their advantage. The great escape was over, but the real lesson was just beginning. The prison planet was quiet for the first time in months. The humans had won, but they weren't celebrating like conquerors. Instead, they were taking care of the wounded aliens and making sure everyone had food and water. Captain Jake Morrison sat across from High Commander Vexthal in what used to be the warden's office. The alien commander still couldn't believe what had happened. "Your people defeated my forces," Vexthal said. "But you are not acting like winners." "That's because we're not trying to be conquerors," Jake replied. "We just want to go home." Nancy Green, who had been a lawyer before joining the space program, was writing down the terms of their agreement. "We want safe passage back to Earth for all our people. We want your government to recognize that humans are not suitable for slavery or imprisonment. And we want a promise that you will leave our planet alone." Vexthal looked at the list. "That's all you want? You could demand anything. You could ask for our technology, our weapons, or our territory." "We don't want those things," Jake said. "We just want to live in peace." This confused the alien commander even more. Every other species they had conquered had wanted power, wealth, or revenge. But these humans just wanted to be left alone. While the negotiations were happening, the other humans were doing something that amazed the aliens. They were teaching them. Sam Taylor was showing alien engineers how to build better water purification systems. "You see, if you add this filter stage, the water becomes much cleaner," he explained. Dr. Amy Foster was sharing her medical knowledge with the alien doctors. "These plants can be used to treat pain and infection. They grow all over this planet, but you never notice them." The aliens were learning that humans didn't just survive in difficult situations. They found ways to make those situations better. Betty Davis had created a garden that could grow food in the planet's poor soil. "The secret is to work with the environment, not against it," she told the amazed alien guards. Even more surprising was how the humans treated their former captors. Instead of being angry or cruel, they were helpful and kind. "Why are you helping us?" asked one alien guard. "Because we're all stuck on this planet together," replied Kevin Walsh. "We might as well make it better for everyone." The alien scientists were studying the humans' behavior and making disturbing discoveries. Dr. Zilkatha, the chief xenobiologist, presented his findings to the Zephyrian High Command. "These humans are unlike any species we have encountered," he reported. "They don't just adapt to survive. They become stronger when faced with challenges." The High Command listened with growing concern. "Explain," demanded the Supreme Commander. "Most species break when put under extreme stress," Dr. Zilkatha continued. "But humans do the opposite. The more pressure we put on them, the more creative and united they become." He showed pictures of what the humans had built on the prison planet. "They turned our worst prison into a thriving settlement. They made friends with each other instead of fighting. They shared resources instead of hoarding them." The Supreme Commander studied the images. "This is troubling. What do you recommend?" "We should add humans to our protected species list," Dr. Zilkatha said. "They are too dangerous to enslave or attack." "Too dangerous?" The Supreme Commander was confused. "They have primitive technology. Their weapons are weak." "Their technology is not what makes them dangerous," the scientist explained. "It's their minds. They solve problems in ways we cannot predict. They work together in ways that make them stronger than the sum of their parts." Back on the prison planet, the negotiations were almost finished. Nancy Green had written a formal treaty that both sides could sign. This document states that the Zephian Empire recognizes humanity as a sovereign species, she read aloud. Humans will not be enslaved, imprisoned, or attacked. In return, humans agree to peaceful relations and will share certain survival technologies. Vexthal signed the treaty with all four of his hands. I agree to these terms. But I must ask you something. How did you do it? How did you turn our prison into your home? Captain Morrison thought for a moment. We did what humans always do. We adapted, we worked together, and we never gave up hope. But other species have tried to work together, Vexthal said. They still failed. Maybe, Jake replied, but they probably didn't have one thing that humans have. What is that? We care about each other. Not just our families or our tribes, but all humans. When one of us is in trouble, we all help. When one of us succeeds, we all celebrate. Dr. Lavra Adams joined the conversation. Your species conquers through fear and individual strength. But humans succeed through cooperation and shared hope. Vexthal was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. We have studied many species across the galaxy, but we have never encountered anything like humanity. Is that good or bad? Jake asked. I don't know, Vexthal admitted. But I know that my people will remember this lesson for a very long time. 3 days later, a Zephyrian transport ship arrived to take the humans home. As they prepared to leave, something unexpected happened. Many of the alien guards came to say goodbye. Some of them had tears in their eyes. Thank you for teaching us, one guard said to Dr. Amy Foster. I never knew that enemies could become friends. Another guard approached Sam Taylor. Will you show me how to build the water cleaner one more? Time? The humans spent their last day on the prison planet teaching the aliens everything they could. They left behind detailed instructions for farming, building, and medicine. Why are you giving us all this knowledge? Asked Warden Kethmer. Because knowledge should be shared, replied Helen Brooks. The more people who know how to solve problems, the better life becomes for everyone. As the human ship prepared to leave, the aliens gathered to watch. They had never seen prisoners leave with honor and respect before. Captain Morrison stood at the ship's window, looking down at the planet that had been their prison and then their home. Do you think we'll see them again? Asked Lisa Carter. Maybe, Jake replied. But if we do, I think it will be as friends, not enemies. The ship jumped to hyperspace, carrying the humans back toward Earth. Behind them, they left a planet that was no longer a prison, but a place where two very different species had learned to understand each other. On the planet's surface, the aliens continued to use the systems the humans had built. The settlement thrived, and the harsh world became a little more livable every day. In the Zephyrian capital, the Supreme Commander was reading Dr. Zilkoth's final report about humans. They are not the strongest species in the galaxy, the report concluded. They are not the smartest or the most advanced. But they may be the most dangerous, because they have something we have never learned to value: the ability to find hope in hopeless situations and to build communities in the most unlikely places. The Supreme Commander made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. Send a message to all Zephyrian fleets. Humanity is to be left alone. They are not to be attacked, enslaved, or threatened in any way. Sir? Asked his aide. Are you declaring them a protected species? No, the Supreme Commander replied. I'm declaring them a species that protects itself, and apparently they're very good at it. Word spread throughout the galaxy about the species that had turned a prison planet into a home. Other alien civilizations began to study human behavior, trying to understand their secrets. But the real secret was simple. Humans had learned long ago that they were stronger together than apart. They had learned that sharing made everyone richer, not poorer. And they had learned that hope was the most powerful force in the universe. Back on Earth, the crew of the USS Horizon was welcomed as heroes. But they didn't feel like heroes. They felt like people who had done what anyone would do. They had survived, they had helped each other, and they had never given up. What's next for us? Lisa Carter asked Captain Morrison as they stood in the Earth Space Command. Headquarters. Jake looked up at the stars through the window. I think we keep exploring. But now we know something important. What's that? We know that no matter what we find out there, no matter how dangerous or difficult it gets, humans will find a way to survive and thrive. Because that's what we do. The story of the prison planet became legend throughout human space. It reminded everyone that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their weapons. It was their ability to work together, to help each other, and to find hope even in the darkest places. And somewhere in the galaxy, alien species were learning a new lesson, that some prey animals are too dangerous to hunt, not because they fight back, but because they never stop growing stronger.